This man sitting before you, John Frankenheimer, done Ronin, The Island of Dr. Moreau, Black Sunday, The Iceman coming, among many, many more. You could go on and on and on. He's got a new one coming out, Reindeer Games. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
It's nice to meet you.
There are very few guests who we have who I feel like I need to address as Mr. or Miss. I feel like I should be addressing you as Mr. Frankenheimer.
I know.
Nice to meet you.
Please don't do that.
Very stately. I mean, you are Hollywood. You walk in here, you are you are Hollywood. Manchurian Candidate. Would you say that's arguably your biggest home run as far as notoriety?
Well, I think there's no doubt about that. That's the one that people automatically mention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not altogether happy about that, but that's the way it is.
Is that because it was, in 1950 or 62, and, 30-some or 40, almost 40 years later, they're still talking about that movie?
Well, that and the fact that I don't think it's my best movie, but I like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think your best movie is?
I think that it's a movie that I did for HBO called Against the Wall, and later one that I did for TNT called George Wallace.
You think those kind of got overlooked in the stream of your work?
I don't think that they've been out there long enough for people to really put them in perspective, and I think that people tend to dismiss how good they are because they were done on cable rather than on the big screen.
A lot of times you automatically, when you hear something that is made for cable or made for TV, automatically it kind of gets put in the second slot. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to the big screen, like it wasn't good enough for the big screen, some people think automatically.
Well, yeah, but that's where they're wrong.
Well, it's changing.
Yeah, I think the best things today are being done on cable TV.
I was always curious how directors choose their scripts. How do you choose a script?
Yeah, what do you look for?
Well, number one, there are three ways that you choose it, that you find a script. I mean, one, you have an idea for a movie like I had for Grand Prix, and you then develop it. Number two, you get a book, a novel, like 7 Days in May, which is another movie I did, and you hire a writer, in that case Rod Serling, and he adapts it. Third thing is somebody sends you a script, which happened here. Bob Weinstein, who owns Miramax, sent me this script. I loved it. And you asked me what I look for. I look for, first of all, the story.
What a great premise, Reindeer Games. I mean,
very clever story.
I was sitting there going, this is such a movie for me.
Yeah, it's a clever story.
I loved it.
Thanks. I mean, I loved the characters. I thought that the writer, Aaron Kruger, did such a good job developing these characters. I thought the dialogue was smart, and I liked the humor of it, too.
Let me ask you another question about Manchurian Candidate, if I can go back for a second. You worked, obviously, with Frank Sinatra in there. Did you develop a friendship? Did you guys remain friends over the years?
Yeah, we did. I mean, working with Frank was really one of the highlights of my life.
And how did he change from when he was a younger guy to an older guy? And I'm not talking about as an actor and as a talent, because he was a great talent, from start to finish. But as a person, how did he change over the years?
Well, I think he grew. I mean, that I saw. I mean, he became much more compassionate, and he was always very considerate of other people. He really was, but he had this monumental success. I think probably the most successful entertainer that ever lived. And it's very hard to live with that. I mean, it's very hard to just lead an ordinary life with that. But I think he adapted to it and became a very compassionate, generous person.
But he was definitely one of those guys that when he wanted it his way, he got it his way.
Not always, no.
Because those are the stories that you all used to hear about,
No.
He did it his way.
Right.
Yeah. But that was Paul Anka that wrote
but,
that. But, I mean, basically, Sinatra was very malleable as far as being directed by me. Mm-hmm. He never insisted on doing it his way, quote. He did it my way, actually, in Manchurian Candidate, which made us really friends.
You should read some of the citations sometime. Made to commit acts too unspeakable to be cited here by an enemy who had captured his mind and his soul. He freed himself at last, and in the end, heroically and unhesitatingly gave his life to save his country.
Working with Sinatra, Marlon Brando, who, in your opinion, is the quintessential actor?
Well, of the actors that are alive today, the two that stand to mind are Angela Lansbury and Gary Sinise, who's in my new movie.
He was a great
Sinise
bad
is
guy.
wonderful.
He was a great bad guy in Reindeer Games.
Well, also, he was a great George Wallace.
Right. He
Yeah.
was.
Yes.
Who was, let's say, of your generation, who was the greatest actor?
Well, I think you'll have to. I don't know if De Niro is in my generation, but he's close, and certainly you have to put him up there. You have to put Brando up there, and a woman who was just beyond my generation, who's unfortunately dead, was Vivian Leigh.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that when I leave this radio station, the name is going to occur.
It always
to me that
happens.
I'm looking for, but there was Raul Julia. Let's not forget him.
Sure, another great actor. Kiss of the Spider. Did he do Kiss of the
He
Spider?
did also,
Right.
and he did the Burning season for me.
What was it like working with Brando?
Well, I got Brando toward the end of his career.
Right.
And he had influenced me tremendously in my life. I mean, I had seen him do Streetcar Named Desire on
Amazing.
the stage. I saw.
Wow.
And so I had always said the one guy I really wanted to do a movie with was Marlon Brando. And unfortunately for both of us, I mean, we worked on a movie where the script was not all it should have been. And he had reached a point in his life where I don't think the passion was the same as when he was younger. So it was not, to answer your question, it was not the best experience I've ever had.
I have seen the devil in my microscope, and I have chained him. And I suppose you could say, in a sense, metaphorically speaking, I've cut him to pieces. The devil, Mr. Douglas, I have found, is nothing more than a tiresome collection of genes. And it is with great assurance that I can tell you that Lucifer, son of the morning, is no more.
When you took on the project, Island of Dr. Moreau, at the time, it was very well publicized because I believe the director had left, the first director.
Well, he was forcibly evicted.
And also the lead, I forgot who it was, but the lead was also no longer there, so it was kind of
Who was the lead?
tumultuous.
Rob, what was his name? God, I can't remember. Rob somebody. He was in the quiz show, Rob Morrow.
Oh, okay.
Rob Morrow, yeah.
So
What was happening there? Why was it in such disarray?
It was a total mess. I mean, just a total mess. There was no script. The locations were terrible. There was no. It was the worst experience I ever had. I did it for the money, and that's always the wrong reason to do anything.
Right.
Well, back to Reindeer Games. I mean, working with some hot new actors. I mean, Charlize Theron and Ben Affleck. What was it like working with young new actors? Were they just trying to absorb everything they could from you?
Well, it was wonderful working with both of them, just as it was wonderful working with Angelina Jolie, for instance, on Wallace, as it was working with Warren Beatty when he was Ben's age on All Fall Down. I mean, I've worked with young actors practically all my life. Ben Affleck is really one of the most talented young actors to come our way in a long, long time. He's intelligent, he's gracious, he's funny. He's great to be around, and of course Charlize is just an extraordinary talent, I think.
You had to rough him up a bit to pull off the prison role.
Well, number one, I didn't want to cast a guy that looked like a hardened convict. I wanted to cast a guy who was in there for car thievery, for car theft, and I wanted a young James Stewart. I wanted every man. I wanted somebody who men relate to, who women relate to, and who was intelligent enough to pull off the really artful Dodger aspects of this movie, where you got to think on your feet, and could do the humor and had a chance at some kind of redemption.
You've been making movies for now 40 some odd years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the question that always comes up is, you're now working for guys who are 30-year-old movie executives who weren't even a zygote when you were making great movies. Does that ever pose problems for you when you've got to, listen to some young kid just out of film school who somehow wound up in an executive position try to tell you what's best for a movie?
No, because I like to listen to what everybody has to say. That doesn't mean I have to embrace it, but I want to hear what everybody has to say, and then I can make my own decisions. But just apropos of that, it's much easier now. Because what I did when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was working with people that were older than I, so forth and so on. But then what happened is that I went through a period where it was quite difficult. But now all these kids have studied me in school. It's great.
Yeah.
They know
your
like,
body of work.
They know all about it.
That's cool.
I'm sure some of the hotshot stuff we see, Jimmy, is not going on when they're in a closed meeting with him. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
When,
It's
Mr.
so many-
Frankenheimer is here, they tone it down and they do the business as opposed to the hotshot stuff that we may see on Entertainment Tonight or whatever we read about in the sleazy stories in Hollywood. I think it's probably a different, kind of two-sided.
I'm guessing there's still plenty of egos to be stroked in, even in your position. But
Yeah, but you know what? Once they hire me,
yeah.
a guy said to me, "It's my money." I
Right.
said, "Yeah, but the moment you hire me, you abdicate your ability to spend that. It's up to me to do that." And I do have, for better or for worse, I have total control over what I do.
That's good.
Do you do anything special to bond with actors on a set?
Well, the only thing that I can tell you, the answer to that question is, I'm totally honest with people. Mm-hmm. And in a business where that is not the biggest quality found in most people, I think actors welcome that. And I love actors. I used to be an actor. And so I can talk to actors in the language that makes sense to them.
What's the best stunt you think you've ever filmed? What's your favorite stunt?
My stunt is being here today.
At
After all these years of having survived this jungle,
Because people
that's the greatest stunt there is.
People pick to the look at the car chase scene in Ronin as one of the great. Stunts of
to
recent
be honest
years,
with
but-
you, the greatest stunts I ever did were the stunts I did with Burt Lancaster, because, like in the train, that for those of you that know the movie, he's up on the tower. He sees the train coming. He himself slides down that tower, the rails. He runs along the side of the track. He jumps onto a moving train going 30 miles an hour. And he plays a scene, and he gets kicked off the train, and he runs and throws a switch, and the locomotive goes, instead of on this track, on that track. And I did it mostly in one shot. That was the biggest stunt I ever did.
And that was in what year? Probably 50.
63.
63.
But there's only been one Burt Lancaster. There will never be another one.
He was. Birdman of Alcatraz, one of my all-time favorite movies. And was that shot on Alcatraz?
No, they wouldn't let us shoot on Alcatraz.
That was back when they weren't allowing that. Because I know they've opened that up, though, recently.
Well, now it's no longer a prison. It's an
Right.
amusement park. But then it was an active working prison.
So it was still active then.
Well, not only that, the Bureau of Prisons did not want the Birdman of Alcatraz made because, the whole thing was about how lousy they were, if you really look at the subtext
Right.
of the movie.
Okay, I want to ask you a little quiz here. I'm interested to know. I'm going to name different genres of movies, and I'd be interested to know what your favorite in each genre. Your favorite comedy movie?
Well,
Not of yours. I mean,
yeah,
in general.
I never made one intentionally. A comedy. Mr. Hulot's Holiday.
I don't even know when that was. I've never heard of that one.
Well, you should look at that.
I should.
It's a French
When was
movie
that?
with Jacques Tati. It was done somewhere around 1960 somehow.
All right, saddest movie.
God, I don't know. I don't know. Let's go on to the next
Okay, best action flick.
one. Best action flick. I'm drawing blanks here.
All right, and please form your answer in the form of a question. By the way, best romantic movie.
Casablanca.
Okay. Most overrated.
Ooh.
Most overrated.
Maybe a movie that you saw after hearing a lot of hype about, and then walked away thinking, I don't know that.
Well, I guess the last great action hero, America's. The
The
thing with
Bruce Willis
Schwarz-
movie.
No, that thing with Schwarzenegger.
Oh, that one. Okay,
Yeah,
I was
that.
thinking of Last
God,
Boy
all
Scout.
that
Yeah.
hype, and then boom.
So
It's gone.
Have you placed your votes? Have you voted for Oscars?
I have.
You have. I know you're not going to tell us, but do you have any favorites going in?
I do. I mean, I happen to be a great admirer of Anthony Minghella, and he did
The talented Mr.
and he
Ripley.
did the talented Mr. Ripley. So you
I
can
love
guess
that
what I
movie.
voted for.
It's a beautiful, beautiful
That was just a
movie.
great movie.
Now you're an Academy member, so you've been nominated.
I never have been nominated.
Really?
But I'm on the board of governors of the Academy.
Is that just an invitation that they give you to be
No,
on that?
it's an elected position.
Ever? Did that ever bother you that you were never nominated?
Yeah.
Of course.
You think?
That's what I like. Usually you hear guys say,
Oh no.
"No,
it's not about
I'm not.
that.
It's not into." Yeah, I want one.
on.
No, man, it bothers
Come on,
me.
45 years. Give me something.
Jimmy Barron, sitting to the right of you, Jimmy used to be an actor.
So did I.
And he was...
Yeah, but you made something of yourself.
Yeah. And I
That's the
thought
difference.
maybe you could critique this one scene that Jimmy had in Risky Business. Would
Some
you mind
risky
doing
business.
that? Would you mind doing that?
Critique. It'll only take 8 seconds of your time.
Now, your grade point average is 3.14, your class rank 52, which places you in the 84th percentile. Is that correct?
Joe, listen, this is my cousin Ruben. He's from Skokie.
Jimmy.
You can get him in tonight?
Not now, okay?
Look, he's got to be back by 12 o'clock.
All right, later, guys.
That was him.
Before you answer, let me just say, Roger Ebert felt that I carried Cruise through that movie.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I carried him on my
Your
back.
problem was you had another guy in that movie named Tom Cruise, right?
Well,
Who would have thought when they would have said which one of these two would go on to...
That's the problem.
I
See?
know.
I mean, from now on, you got to be more careful
Yeah.
about who you act
I know.
opposite.
I mean, I'm just saying that's what Roger
You think
said.
he should stick to radio or head
well,
back west?
let's put it this way. From listening to that, I would not give up my day job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing it anyway. So,
yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, basically, I think I'm missing the expression on your face.
it
because
was
I'm
very
listening
powerful.
To this on radio. You
It's
know what I mean?
often, I mean,
Yeah.
I think AFI is considering a salute to me.
A retrospective,
Yeah,
really.
that's what I heard.
Yeah,
I read that on the internet.
Well,
I mean, it was
that's
on my own webpage, but I still read it on the internet.
But that's
so.
what you need,
Yeah.
to get people back on the Jimmy Barron
Sure.
bandwagon.
The AFI salute.
That's it.
Yeah, it's the one finger salute.
Get that
That's
JimmyBarron.com up and running.
Right.
Yeah.
John, what about Morning X the movie? Can you see that as
Oh,
your next
yeah.
project, maybe?
Behind the
That's
scenes.
it. I've been looking for it.
Behind the scenes.
I've been looking for
Is
it.
there a topic or subject that you think would make a good movie?
I mean, I really would love to do Thomas Wolfe's novel, The Homeward Angel. I mean, I want to do that so badly.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's one of the great novels ever written, and it's just involved me all my life.
So, can you do anything to make that happen?
Yeah.
Can you
Put on a couple calls?
If you read that Reindeer Games goes out and makes $100 million, you can bet your bottom. You can bet that Look Homeward Angel is going to get made.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we'll do
Yeah.
our part to get everyone to see
Yeah.
Reindeer Games.
Thanks.
Very good action flick. A nice 90-minute compact just ride. I loved it.
It's good to see that after 45 years, you still know how to shoot a good nude scene.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, we couldn't do that the first 25 years.
So he's
I was
making up
building
for it
up
now.
to it.
John Frankenheimer, Reindeer Games opening up in a couple of weeks. Thank you, John, for coming by.
The best of the Morning X on 99X.
Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy.
The original 99X.